Now, I asked one of our health professionals, Kasia Kines, to join me tonight so we could talk about some of the things that she's doing. But to explain her a little bit, she's a nutritionist. She has an MS master's degree in clinical nutrition. She's CN certified nutritionist in the state of Washington. Also LDN licensed nutritionist. She's also an original nutritionist at Johns Hopkins Integrative Medicine and Digestive Center, and she's one of the leading and progressive functional clinical nutritionists in the state of Maryland. The majority of her practice is working with patients and referrals from doctors, and we're very lucky to have her join us tonight because she's done an amazing job with her patients and is making such a difference out there in the world. It's definitely worth hearing some of what's going on. So Kasia, I have you with me?
Yes, good evening, Lorin. Can you hear me?
I hear you just fine. Thank you for joining us tonight. So,
thank you so much for having me, and thank you for explaining the system and the company beautifully.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So as far as a nutritionist, just make sure everybody's on the same page. Can you give a description of the scope of work that you're providing to your patients as a nutritionist?
Well, like most of us nutritionists, what I do is I do because I love it, and I have lofty goals because nutrition is very powerful. So I would say in a sentence, what I do is my goal is always to change patients' lives.
Absolutely, I can completely agree with that. Now, as a nutritionist, what are the primary type of health challenges that you are dealing with your patient base?
I have a lot of very complicated patients that bring a combination of problems. I might have one patient with IBS, SIBO, yeast overgrowth, chronic constipation, and multiple food allergies, for example. A lot of Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, maybe multiple sclerosis, autoimmune conditions. So a lot of serious complaints, and then a lot of minor aches and pains and vague malaise and mystery issues. I see it all.
Well, that's quite an array of health challenges, and one thing that I've learned over my years working in this industry is that the health professionals all have different specialties and different focus in their patients, but nutrition is one thing that touches every practitioner of every specialty because all humans need good nutrition, and I'm sure you'd be one to agree with that.
Well, there's just no escape. There is a medical doctor, Dr. Hyman, who said recently if a doctor doesn't practice nutrition, the doctor is not practicing medicine. And I think that's why a lot of medical doctors are going back to training to get updated on how they can support patients more with nutrition. So we're very lucky in my field because we can make a really very big impact on patients' health, and I see it every day, and it's a beautiful feeling to be able to make a difference and see it in pretty quickly, and that's so sustainable. That's a backbone. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It's certainly something that hits everybody. Now, I have heard in my years working again in this field that many nutritionists I've heard say, and dietitians also, they've expressed that nutrition comes from the food, and we know that there's challenges with that. What's your intake on that? What's your input?
It would be wonderful to live hundreds of years ago before we altered our environment. I don't think it's realistic to have 8 ounces of raw, uncooked wild salmon every day. That would be too much mercury, definitely. I mean, that's just an example. I was adamant against supplementation when I was leaving my graduate program. I trained in nutraceuticals, but I vowed not to rely on it. I vowed to do everything with nutrition, with foods, with my patients. But over the years in practice and looking at the response of the patients, how much further I could take them with foods alone, how far they were willing to eat what I wanted them to eat, and how much faster I needed them to improve, and then looking at the research behind nutraceuticals, I started to add them, and actually this is one of the few companies that I've really been working seriously with, and it has changed the way I practice my nutrition pretty much. I don't imagine practicing without my isotonic solutions, for example, without providing it for my patients.
Absolutely.
So
So
it makes
can
a
you
big
describe,
difference.
oh yeah, I'm sure. Can you describe how you're using the nutraceuticals to support your patients?
Let me see. I spend a long time with the first patient. My intake is up to 2 hours, so I get to know the patients very well. We create a timeline. We try to look for causality and connections and why things have gone where they have, trying to find causes. And at the same time, I do assess all the nutritional intake in foods. I put it through a software program. It's going to spit out all the micronutrients and macronutrients that the patients are meeting or not. So I have something on paper that I can provide for patients, and over the years consistently I see which nutrients are lacking and which are low, which are excessive. And it corresponds with the science. It's very funny. Vitamin E and magnesium, for example, come up all the time. And that's the research. That's number 1 and number 2 most efficient nutrients according to research over the years. So I have to educate my patients. And at the same time, I like to bring my isotonics from home into the office. And during the first appointments, that's very exciting to me because depending on the complaints that the patient is bringing, I like to make a little cocktail and present it to them and explain the physiology of the isotonics, explain how to use it, explain as I'm doing it. It fizzes up, it's beautiful, it smells good, it tastes good. And so the patient has an opportunity to ask questions. Then when they consume the cocktail, after about 15-20 minutes, I remind them because I expect them to work, just like Lorin said. During the webinar tonight, you mentioned, Lorin, that the products deliver. And so I have high expectations. I'm used to the delivery and the reactions from patients. So I teach patients to expect, to pay attention. It's not just another supplement to spend money on. It's something to help them. And I get very interesting reactions. Patients get excited. They perk up. Maybe I give them a double of B complex and they come to life. They're more energetic. And then for homework, they're supposed to email me and let me know how they felt throughout the evening. Did they sleep better? Is the bowel movement better in the morning next day? Whatever they noticed, if there's any difference, because then I can tell them what happens and what's the mechanism behind the supplement they took. And that is priceless, because then the patients are taking charge. They're more in control. They're more empowered, and they start seeing connections. And so I like that visual and physical contact and trying it together and then following up and seeing what happens. It's always very fascinating and very rewarding.
Yeah,
So.
the follow-up's always been a big one. I've seen a lot of success from health professionals who talk to their patients when they come back for subsequent visits. And what they find is that by asking which challenges, health challenges they had before, how are you feeling, how are you doing on the product, they're getting the feedback from the patients and actually hearing much of like what you just said. So it is very exciting to see results.
It is, and it gives me a great pleasure to even be able to send a case at my cost if I need to, just to help a patient, because I know I can do that. I know I can afford it because of the compensation system behind it. So it gives me a lot more leverage than I could with other companies, for example. That's another big plus for me, for my practice.
Well, you definitely have a lot of passion to take care of your patients. And, you know, one thing I have seen, nutritionists and dietitians usually often carry multiple lines. Can you tell me what specifically about these products brought you here?
I think most of us use various lines. My practice is out of pocket. Some patients get reimbursed to a degree, some don't. Many do not, and so it's great privilege to have the trust of patients when they come, and they can even prepay a program out of pocket. So I have to be very careful when I do recommend supplements. I have to have the right dose, I have to have the right quality, and I have to know that they work. So if I offer omega-3 fish oil, I need specific amounts. And what's beautiful about NutraMetrix is that the scientific department looks for specific dosage, specific potency. So if we have a fish oil, it's as high in the potency as you can get in one capsule, and it is effective. So let me see, I got lost in your question. What was the question?
Just, what of our line brought you here?
The other, yes. But of course, the most powerful line that we have that nobody else can match is the isotonic solution. That and the OPC. I think the first product, the reason why I looked at that company was OPC3. There's multiple studies, so that's not that. But what I was hearing from people who were using OPC, I was hearing it for about a year, and then I said, that's it. If half of it is true, I have the responsibility to look at this company, look at this product, and that's how I got started. But the interesting thing is that, as a nutritionist, I have so many deficiencies I'm working against. I have so many gut issues I'm working with. I don't even get to OPC3. I get through aloe a lot. I get through the B's, the D's, because they're so lacking, or the magnesium. But OPC is not even the main focus for me. But what the isotonics do, I have not seen other supplements do. So I tend to go for the isotonics as my primary choice. And if I cannot find the formulation, or if there's some food allergies and the patients for some reason cannot tolerate the isotonics, then I will look for the closest match. But it's very hard to do. For example, our calcium is just outstanding. I'm not finding anything even remotely close. And I'm not finding anything that is ionic and isotonic at the same time. And that's just, I don't know how the formulation is possible, but it is, and it's just outstanding for patients. So very unique, very fast acting. Compliance is high because it tastes good. But it's just a matter of teaching patients and checking on them and following up, making sure that they don't mix the powder and water inappropriately. There's a lot of funny stories that all of our health professionals have when patients get confused and don't do it right. So yeah, the follow-up, like Lorin, you said, is very important with this particular line. And sometimes watching patients do it in front of you as well.
Yeah, little example is a good thing for sure. Now, we also know one of the biggest issues in our country is weight loss, and I'm also passionate about our TLS weight loss program, having lost some weight myself. And as this country is not shrinking, it's obviously essential, and educating patients is a big deal. And you obviously know that's what our TLS solution does. Can you describe what you've used with our TLS program to help your patients?
Absolutely. Like everything that NutraMetrix presents to our health professionals, TLS is based on science. I know if we bring something, if something is introduced, if there's a new product or a new service, I know it's based on solid science. That's the only way we bring new things. And TLS, it's a weight loss solution, but one of my TLS coaches would correct me immediately. It's a weight, it's a healthy weight support system. One of my coaches was always underweight, and this is the first program that helped her actually gain the weight, so she's not worrying about being underweight. And she's a very passionate coach as a result. I've been with TLS I've been using the NutraMetrix system for almost 5 years, and I started with TLS a number of years ago, and it's evolved dramatically as NutraMetrix is. You have to keep up with it. The TLS right now, the beauty of TLS for my practice is that I have a solo practice. I do all my bookkeeping. I do all credit card processing. I do all electronic charting and all faxes for my patients and for clinics. Everything runs through me. And so when I was teaching TLS, it was a little bit overwhelming. I have so many patients in different programs. But I was able to, this is very contagious. So some of the patients become very healthy and want to pay forward, and they get very interested in coaching, and then they train, and then they become coaches. And as a result, where I work is a naturopathic clinic with Dr. Janine Martin. And so our TLS coach, who used to be my patient and now is my dearest friend, she's like a sister to me, is the coach that I mentioned. She's the official coach in our clinic. And so in the real world, outside of the system, I would have a hard time letting go of my patients and giving away clients or patients to another coach, because I know I would be losing the revenue I so depend on. It's a difficult field to stay in, being a nutritionist, and those guests tonight who are nutritionists know very well how challenging it is. That's why there's not so many of us. But in the system, I know my coach is compensated well, takes a very good care of my patients, but at the same time, the system that is created compensates my coach and me equally for her work. So I know I'm supporting her, but it's not competition. We will always support each other financially. So this is a detail that was not explained very much in the presentation, because that wasn't the night tonight. But I work with a lot of health professionals, and knowing that we're not in competition anymore, that we actually financially supporting each other from now on, makes a big difference in the energy, in how we can share patients. The synergy is beautiful. I can't say enough about that.
Yeah, definitely supporting patients with synergistic care among multiple specialties is a very powerful thing. Now, another aspect of what we do that I'm also passionate about is our GeneSNP DNA analysis. It's one of my personal favorites. Can you describe how you've used that analysis to support your patients?
It's my absolutely most favorite. If I could, I was just telling Lorin before the webinar, if I could, I would screen all my patients, and I know that the prices are always going down, and I know it's going to be more and more affordable, and it is in this country as the technology is improving, and we need that. GeneSNP, it's like your GPS. It tells you where you have to turn. You have a choice. So for example, now I understand why I stole money for candy when I was 6 years old from my father. I remember one incident, hopefully it was the last one, the only one. But I have many gene SNPs for sugar metabolism. Many of them are not positive. And if I was eating indiscriminately, if I didn't learn, I'm 47 right now, I would probably be diabetic or pre-diabetic, but I never will. It's the information that is priceless. I have patients who could not tolerate smoke and didn't understand it and would get sick in front of the fireplace, but they didn't understand the ramification, and there's a gene for that, or the infamous gene for folate. If you cannot methylate folate, you will have to supplement for the rest of your life, or you might develop depression that is resistant to medication. And if you don't supplement that, the medications will not be able to help efficiently. So it's very, very tremendously relevant. I tend to use it when patient has an extra budget, or when we're not responding, when there's something still stewing, when we're not getting the results we expect, or also if the patient is not really believing that, let's say, the inflammation may be behind it. I had a patient who was doubting. He had a lot of problems, but once he saw how much inflammation was in his genes, he got on it right away. He was much more compliant. He got better results. He was able to lose weight. And so that I actually provide, one of my programs includes the cost of the gene SNP, so I can entice my patients. If they pay for this particular program, we're going to run that. And I love to offer that, and I would love to offer more education to my patients about it, because I think the patients have fear about it. They don't understand what it is. But for the dietitians and nutritionists listening, I just wanted to say that even American Dietetic Association stands behind genetic testing, and the long-term goal, my understanding is that the dietitians should be the preferred professional specializing in it, providing the expertise on it. So we're right in the right spot to learn about it and to utilize it.
Absolutely. That makes a whole lot of sense, and being able to put science behind the nutrition, I think, is something that our medical economy is very much ready for. So another key to successful implementation is knowing how to implement, and as you know, we have our NutraMetrix consultants that we train to help support our health professionals. Can you describe how it has helped you to have a consultant assist with your implementation and support?
The consultant is, my consultant changed my life. My consultant had no idea how little money I was making, how I had a teaching job on the side just to continue having my practice open. And I have to say that the NutraMetrix attracts very positive, driven visionaries who believe in wellness and believe in helping others. And so that passion really translates, and it was the same with my consultant. And she became a family member. She's like a sister to my family. And I noticed that other consultants too, when they bring the wellness to the medical practice, they become very close to the whole staff group, to the doctor. They are very instrumental in the energy of the clinic and how the profit and the education are implemented. It's again, it's the same energy, understanding, trust, and respect. I do not rely on my consultant anymore because I have a small practice. I don't have staff, and so she trained me, and I kind of stopped delegating things to her. I stopped emailing her with questions. Eventually, I learned, so I can manage my practice. But I also trained as a consultant to support other clinicians and to help them and to impact more patients, just because it's so engaging and so contagious. So that's how it goes.
Yeah, and I know you work with other health professionals, doctors who refer patients with you, so that all works together and you being able to help them with their own nutrition support for their patients. That's wonderful.
That is, and I never thought about that before. I have a lot of doctors that refer to me, and now I like to come and thank them, and also right now I'm learning to ask them more if they're looking, if their patients are happy, do they need any support in their practices? Because even my husband left his corporate career, and he's become a NutraMetrix consultant. He's helping our health professionals stand on their feet and educate the patients, and they love him. So it's just a beautiful contagious process. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful thing when you're able to really make the impact that you got into healthcare for and really change the lives that you want to change. And I know you have a great passion for helping people. What's your vision for the future of your practice as you continue to grow?
Let's see. As my favorite TLS coach would say, we have an army of TLS coaches impacting a lot of people, teaching them how to eat. I have a beautiful practice when I can see patients maybe once a week, so I can have vacations. I have time to have cooking classes for patients, for example. Maybe I can become a chef, and because I would love to bring food more to the table and teach about foods. But you know, when you're a clinician, we're not in a position where we're married to our practice. We love it, but we don't have a life. And I think that's common for any specialty, even in medicine. And I know the vision would be that maybe I would be able to even offer my services for free to patients that cannot pay, because I would be compensated through the system, so I could relax a little bit. So there's a lot of things that I would do and I will do in future, definitely.
Well, it's wonderful to have a pathway to be able to do the things that we love. And one thing I always know is that everybody who gets the results always tells somebody else that they care about. So it's amazing how wellness really is growing. And I definitely see the changes going on in our community, because even in the grocery stores, the food options are changing. We're seeing organic, we're seeing gluten-free, and we're seeing a lot more visibility in those natural things. Now, you guys know that this is, again, live. If you have any questions for Kasia, you're welcome to post them. And I'm going to go through a couple of the other questions, and she and I will work together to answer your questions as we have them. Give me just 1 second here. Oh, be on. Okay, 1 moment. All right, then. I see a couple of questions that came in, so looking forward to find these. how do you define a health professional? We have a list of approved health professionals who have a patient base and have credentials to see those patients for different needs. For specific lists to see who qualifies as a health professional, we can certainly provide that, and any health professionals who are qualified are on there. Anybody else can submit a case-by-case approval request to see if they fit as a health professional. Next question, how does a health professional get the practice label on the custom blend? The practice label. Now, for example, our label comes on it, and when you order a custom formula, the title of the product is given whatever you want. So if it's Mrs. Jones Wellness Formula, that's what's on it. If it's Smith Optimal Blood Sugar Support, then that's what's on it. Now, if the health professional also wants to add their own sticker to the lid or something so patients can go online and reorder, they can obviously do that too, but we deliver it with the health professional's title on the label. And I see another question. It says, what's the size of your average performing practice in revenue? That is a really, really good question, and I will say that success is relative to each practitioner. We have health professionals who move giant numbers their first year. We have some who take years to build. We have practitioners who do very, very little because we have no minimums and they just want access to stuff when they need it, and we have health professionals who move hundreds of thousands a year. So there's a full spectrum, and what we do with all of our health professionals is come up with a reasonable proposal based on their unique practice numbers, and then we help design the activity to meet the needs and goals of the health professional. Okay, looking through for additional questions. Okay, one moment while I read. Okay, here's a question, Kasia, if you're able to hear. I know you were having an audio challenge. For nutritionists who insist that supplements are not necessary, what kind of proof would you offer to help them understand the need for additional support in nutrition?
Very simple answers depending on where the patient is and what the patient has to hear. A very simple example is alteration of the nutrient composition in the soil, and the fact that if you want vitamin C equivalent of an apple 50 years ago, you might need to eat 4 apples right now. We are overfed but malnourished, and you can go and find studies. There's a lot of studies that are telling us now the percentage of nutrients lost, and a big difference when you compare it between organics and non-organics. We can't meet the needs, unfortunately. It's just not happening anymore.
Yeah, the soils I think I've seen have been depleted in the United States since the 1940s, showing up in our documents, and obviously if the soils aren't replenished with nutrients, then they're not getting into our bodies either. Mm-hmm. So makes a whole lot of sense. Mm-hmm. I see another question that says, how do you become a NutraMetrix consultant? I can answer that one quickly. We have a course that you attend. It's a 3-day course that teaches everything from beginning to end for becoming a consultant, and we have ongoing continuing education every single Monday night to help our consultants succeed, and we have all kinds of support that we provide throughout the week to help them continue their growth as a consultant. And we will have 5 courses booked next year. We're in the process of finalizing those locations. We have completed our courses for this year, and our courses for next year will be loaded up as soon as we confirm the locations. The dates for those will be available online. You'll be able to find them by going to NutraMetrix.com and click on events. Right now you won't see them because they're not on there yet, but as soon as the courses are available, click on the events tab on NutraMetrix.com and you'll find them, and talk to the person who shared this with you, and they can certainly let you know when the courses are released. Okay, so any additional questions. If you have any others, go ahead and post them out. Meanwhile, Kasia, I want to thank you for joining us. I think it's very powerful for people to be able to hear from health professionals who are practicing with patients such as yourself and hear about the type of results that are happening and really what's changing in the medical economy, but also the wellness economy of patient health care and how much patients do need the nutritional support. Do you have any additional comments that you would like to add in closing?
Keep it up, don't stop. I want to thank everyone tonight for being online with us. And it's very late and you're asking questions. It means that you care about others, you want to make a difference, and it's a beautiful organization. I have health professionals from different parts of the country that are my best friends. Hello, good evening. I have NutraMetrix consultants from different states that I befriend that are fantastic. We're friends, we support each other. So it's a beautiful community. You grow together. It's a good place to investigate. And whatever you do, keep going towards wellness. And thank you for being with us tonight. And Lorin, thank you for having me tonight as well. I really appreciate sharing it.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's very valuable to all of us to hear such wonderful information that you have, and you have just such wonderful eloquence in explaining what you do, and the passion that you have for your patient care is absolutely phenomenal, and it's my gift and blessing to be able to work with health professionals such as yourself. So thank you so much for helping out tonight.
Thank you. I'm lucky to be able to do what I do. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Fantastic. And I will thank all of you for joining us this evening, and we'll look forward to seeing you online and at future trainings and much more. Thank you again. Oops, I see one quick question I'll add on. If a practice is really busy, how would this be implemented? The staff is not educated. We actually help. We have a whole staff training system. Another quick question. I see some people say they believe in exercise and healthy eating and only eat organic, and they do not believe in supplements. How would we answer? Kasia, do you want to take that?
Let me unmute myself. This is very interesting because I get this all the time. I have a lot of very educated patients, and they say, I do very well. I exercise, I eat great. Fantastic. Let's put your food logs through the software program. Let's see how the foods show in terms of macronutrients and micronutrients. There's always surprises, always surprises. There's also testing you can do like SpectraCell. It's a fabulous lab that measures the saturation of micronutrients, vitamins, minerals inside your cell. It's much better than the blood test of today's status. It's a longer status of your cellular saturation. And so you might be surprised if you test that, if you have that available. You might want to test yourself and see how you do. But also there's certain things that we do not meet in foods. Vitamin D is not in foods. Vitamin D really has to be supplemented from my clinical perspective, from what I see and from research. The same with omega-3. It's just not possible to get enough. You know, we don't fish anymore. We don't live by the streams, and they're too polluted. It's not safe to eat so much fish. So there are certain nutrients that are very difficult to get in the diet the way we live. So I would challenge a person to just dig a little bit deeper, get tested, find a food log that they can put in a program that will spit out where they are, just even compared to RDAs, whether they at least meet that. It's very surprising to a lot of my patients who are well to see where they fit into it, and it surprises me as well. So that's probably where I would go.
Yeah, definitely is a different food situation that we have in this country at this point. All right, now I think that's it for the questions. So again, I will wish all of you a wonderful evening, and thank you for joining us. Appreciate all of you guys sticking through technical difficulties, and we will look forward to talking to you really soon. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you, Kasia.
Thank you so much. Good night.
All right, good night all.